What it do, number one podcast listeners? I am coming to you after a very bad sports day, and I thought it was only right that I fired up this mic for you number one podcast listeners. So you've tuned in to a special edition of the number one podcast in your headphones. Prem Brulee, your boy, is going to stream of consciousness react to the Dallas Cowboys dealing Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Buckle up.
Funny about that. You know who was asking about you the other day? Who's that? Nobody.
We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
All right, number one podcast listeners. This might be the nail in the proverbial coffin of my fanhood. This right here today, the Dallas Cowboys dealing elite superstar, arguably the best defensive player in the National Football League, Micah Parsons, to the Green Bay Packers. This might be it for your boy, number one podcast listeners. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And while that might be fine for Jerry Jones and his family, I can't sit by and do that as a fan. But before I give you my full breakdown of this very dark day in Cowboys fanhood history, I do want to make sure we begin with a little bit of a positive, and that is a quick word from our fine folks at Magic Mind. All right, number one podcast listeners, no matter what kind of field you're in, whether you're a creative, you work at a desk, you do manual labor, you're a commuter, you do sales, you're in your car a lot, Magic Mind fits your day in any kind of field that you might be working in. It provides clean energy without crashes, it's portable and quick, or it can be mixed into your drink that you're already taking with you. It comes in a little shot form, so you can be like me. I take it in the morning, so I have sustained energy through the day, and I take it as I'm leaving the house, and I can toss it in my recycle bin. It's just a 2-second boost of clean energy that sustains me throughout the day. Or you can take it with you, pack it in your lunchbox. It takes virtually no room in your items that you might take to work. If you're looking for focus or your next idea as a creative, it can help with that too. So don't play yourselves. Get your Magic Mind. You already know the drill. I use it myself. I try to exercise my creativity for you number one podcast listeners. So Magic Mind is always in use for me. In my day job, I use it there too. So no matter what you do, day job, night job, something on the side, Magic Mind's there for you. And my discount code's there for you as well. magicmind.com/Prem, Prem. When prompted, enter the code PREM20, PREM20, and you can get up to 48% off a subscription. That's the way I do it. I like it coming to my doorstep and having a pack ready to go sitting in the fridge. I like mine cold, and I take it on the go on my way out the door. Some people love it as a midday pick-me-up. It's whatever works for you in your day and your busy schedule. I believe in its clean ingredients. I recommend it to people I love. So number one podcast listeners, that's you. And I wouldn't be telling you to get it all these months if I didn't believe in it. And that is magicmind.com/Prem. Enter the code PREM20. Don't play yourselves. Go get you some. You know I wouldn't steer you wrong, number one podcast listeners.
What it do, baby?
You already know this episode is not fueled by the positivity that Magic Mind provides me, number one podcast listeners, so don't get it twisted. But I'm here for you. This episode is just a one big reaction. You played yourself to the Dallas Cowboys, so
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty.
Here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
Love the fine folks at Magic Mind, but here we go. So first, this news just broke. So number one podcast listeners, if you're getting my reaction and haven't got the full scope of the deal, I feel like I owe it to you guys to recap this trade, this historic trade. The Dallas Cowboys traded 4-time Pro Bowl edge rusher Micah Parsons, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year candidate, to the Green Bay Packers. In exchange, the Cowboys received Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks the Packers' first-round picks in the 2026 draft and the 2027 draft. Parsons agreed to a 4-year, $188 million contract with the Packers. It includes $120 million fully guaranteed at signing and $136 million in total guarantees. It makes Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. This ends essentially a hold-in that has happened over the course of training camp, in which Micah Parsons was seeking a new deal. We covered it on the last episode. Jerry Jones had some shady dealings trying to negotiate a deal with Parsons himself and not his agent. It started a whole standoff in which Parsons requested a trade. Recently this week, they agreed to field offers after previously sharing that they weren't going to trade Parsons. It has since been reported by Jane Slater of the NFL Network and confirmed by Jerry Jones in their press conference. Jane Slater spoke with Micah Parsons, who said that they went back to the Cowboys about an extension, showing empathy, when the trade interest leaked this week. The Cowboys responded by telling Parsons that he should play on his 5th year of his rookie deal or leave. Again, that was confirmed by Jerry Jones. He's at a lot of bad press conferences. The press conference following the announcement of this trade only served to make people feel worse. Somehow he is a pro at making fans feel like absolute shit while showing no remorse. He is the ultimate gaslighter, the ultimate fuck you to fans. That's Jerry Jones. Because the bottom line is, he doesn't care about winning. You can't convince me he does. Because no sane person would make these moves as a deliberate fuck you to fans and sit there and try to tell fans that their team is better for losing someone like Micah Parsons, or their team is better for negotiating contracts in bad faith the way he does every single offseason. Did it with Dak Prescott multiple times. Did it with CeeDee Lamb last year. Micah Parsons was eligible for a contract extension starting in March of 2024. Nearly a year and a half later, they had a year and a half to make a fair deal and show any sort of competence, and they didn't. And now they've traded away arguably the hottest commodity on defense in the entire NFL. Micah Parsons is 26 years old. One could argue he has not even hit his prime yet. He's top 5 in most sacks in the first 4 years of someone's career. He's had over 12 or 12 and a half sacks each of his first 4 seasons. That's not normal. Number one podcast listeners, I think this might be it. This might be the nail in the coffin of my fanhood with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I've been hinting at not being a fan. It couldn't be me. But why should I subject myself to this incompetence? There's no light at the end of the tunnel. The Cowboys aren't getting better. Despite what Jerry Jones is trying to tell people, that they got better by adding Kenny Clark that'll shore up their run defense in exchange for a Defensive Player of the Year category, is asinine. To give you an idea of just how valuable he is, John Owning, an editor at Pro Football Focus, PFF, he's at John Owning on X, said the following: Micah's value is not just in his own personal production, but in how his gravity made it easier for everyone else to produce. There's a reason Dallas had the best defense by EPA per play with him on the field, and were the worst without him. Sorry, second worst without him. You know, the Dallas Cowboys dealt Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers, a team that has fully fucking embarrassed you and owned you in recent history, in the playoffs especially. Literally, it's giving all of your valuables to your bully, even though they only asked for just your lunch money. It's unfathomable that you would let a team that has sunned you get even better. I laugh at the fact that Twitter is circling this Week 4 matchup between the Cowboys and Packers as if the Packers had any trouble beating the Cowboys even without Micah Parsons, and now they added one of the most elite players on a football field and productive players on a football field, to make them better. Godspeed to Dak Prescott staying upright that game. You made a team that already beats you each year get better, and you gave their now best player on the Packers roster is Micah Parsons at this point. I don't think anybody's denying that. Their best player now has motivation to face you. I mean, on what planet can Jerry Jones sit there and tell fans that their team got better? They just had this incredible documentary on Netflix. Number one podcast listeners might have watched it. Well, not to spoil anything, but in the last part, there's these heartfelt moments about the Jones family not being sure how much longer they have together, and they got to win now. Nothing about this move screams winning now and getting any closer to title contention. They have been 30 years without any real progress in the playoffs. And what do? They draft an elite player, had a chance to pay him under market value early, didn't do it, end up trading him away. There's no other team behaving like this. There are bad teams. There are dysfunctional teams. There's not a team that tries to gaslight you into thinking they're good when they're not. There's not a team that just throws gasoline on a fire to make things actively worse for fans and make them actively more miserable. There's not a single team that behaves this way. So there are a lot of pain-filled fans out there. I get it. I can relate to that part. But the thing the Cowboys do, other than make Jerry Jones money, and only that, is drive their fans absolutely crazy. Gaslight their fans to no end. They mix dysfunction in their front office along with lack of results. Most teams are either just bad with a little bit of dysfunction. The Cowboys have a unique combination of being both, and being both for an extended period of time with no end in sight. Because guess what? When Jerry Jones is done, he's got a son that's only learned from his dad. So you guys can try to be positive about him being different than Jerry. Maybe so. But it's much more likely that the guy that's worked with him for the last 30 years, for half of his life, is going to be much more like his mentor and father than unlike him. They traded Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark and 2 what will be late first-round picks. Please note, those out there who are trying to be positive or say that the Cowboys somehow won this trade. First of all, I don't know how you would even fix your mouth to say something like that. But the Packers have picked after the Cowboys the last 2 years. They got actively better. They have a deep roster. You think these are not going to be late first-round picks that they just got? 2 late first-round picks that the Cowboys will arguably miss on in exchange for the best defensive player in the NFL. Not to mention the fact that you traded to a team that has consistently kicked your ass and embarrassed you. Not to mention this underrated fact of the way they handled this Micah Parsons deal is bad for business. Who is going to want to play for the Jones family if they can't even take care of their own drafted superstar and one of the best players in the entire league? If they're going to try to go behind agents' backs and deal directly with players, and then, by the way, show no remorse for it in a press conference. Nobody's going to want to be on this team. Who is going to want to play for this team if they just treated their best player the way they did? If you have other players coming out and questioning these tactics where they publicly disparage their superstars, most of which they end up paying, but then you just had this example of how they handled the Micah Parsons situation. No self-serving agent is going to let their client sign with the Cowboys unless they overpay. And that's exactly what the Jones family just did by setting this precedent. The only thing that would have made this trade okay would be a Herschel Walker trade level haul, meaning 5 picks. The Cowboys got 2 late first round picks and Kenny Clark in exchange for Micah Parsons. That's not enough. If every single fan in this country is wondering why their team didn't also call the Cowboys and offer something similar, Dallas Cowboys, you probably didn't get a good deal. If every team would make this fucking deal. This is truly an insane mismanagement of a truly elite player. But the Jones family are going to tell you they know more than you, and everything of their tactics is smarter than any other team. Yet no other team has these problems where they wait to pay a guy and end up overpaying. Or now, I would take those problems over this one. The Cowboys used to wait to pay and overpay. Now, they can't even keep their player. I wish I could say I can't believe this, but in reality, I can believe how bad they screwed this up. They literally did the opposite of what the recipe would be for how to handle your talent and how to handle your salary cap. If you want to look at how a team should manage their players and their salary cap, do the opposite of what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do. And I got to tell you, I got to reiterate my PSA to fans. If you are siding with the Jones family, if you're siding with a billionaire owner over a player, check yourself. Major fucking cornball energy if you find yourself siding with an owner instead of a player. There's not a single owner that should have fans side with him over a player trying to get paid who has a limited time to make money versus an owner who is a billionaire upon billionaire, let alone this particular owner, and Jerry Jones, who's done nothing to deserve your benefit of doubt. I'm not going to tell you to stop being a fan of this team, but I am going to say it is being a fucking cornball if you find yourself trying to side with the owners who are clearly gaslighting the fuck out of you, time in and time out. But not me. Sniffed it out last football season. I enjoyed myself by not caring. This successfully makes me fully apathetic and without fanhood. The fanhood is dead. It is dead. Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys have done that by having 30 years of ineptitude. I am truly glad I watched that documentary so that I could experience some of what will be the last time the Cowboys will ever be good. Because the Jones family is always going to run the Cowboys, and they're going to make money hand over fist, but they're not going to produce any successful product with the way they do business. It's not going to happen. You can't convince me it is. I'll believe it when I fucking see it. This is an utter embarrassment. If everyone in the world is questioning what the fuck the Cowboys are doing by trading arguably the best defensive player in the league, then maybe, just maybe, the Jones family isn't smarter than all of us, all of these smart people. Maybe they're just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And maybe you're a bigger idiot for believing them when they try to gaslight you into thinking this is good for their team and business. Truly awful. I cannot believe this. You know, I definitely thought they were going to work out a deal. I didn't think this was in the realm of possibility. But it's my fault for even being surprised. Nothing officially will surprise me anymore. I didn't think anything could, but this one definitely got me. Number one podcast listeners, I am what you would call now an NFL fanhood atheist. I am without fanhood, without belief in fanhood. Maybe one day I'll pledge allegiance to a different fanhood in NFL football, but I'm going to enjoy not having this and not letting them take up room in my brain. Now, number one podcast listeners, I want to hear from you. I've heard from a bunch of you as soon as this trade dropped, texting me. I want to hear your reactions to the trade. I have a few Packers fans in my life. I know they're pumped. I'm happy for them. But I had to reach out to my other go-to fan, my cousin Sonny. So I want to get his thoughts before we wrap up this episode.
What is going on, Premal, my brother? What is happening to my number one podcast listeners in your headphones? It's Sonny B here. Just really wanted to come on and kind of give my thoughts a little bit on the Micah Parsons trade to the Green Bay Packers. You know, the Green Bay fucking Packers, right? You know, look, this whole thing with Micah Parsons' trade to the Packers is really just classic and peak Jerry Jones, you know? This man's ego is really just so inflated and so huge and so convoluted that is practically its own damn entity that is running this team and running this organization, right? It's his own franchise, so to speak. Jerry doesn't really care about football, in my opinion. I think he cares about the production. I think he cares about everything around it, and football's kind of just a bonus, right? I saw a thing on Twitter, it was like lights, camera, Jerry. And that's exactly what it is, right? You know, football success and winning comes very much second place to keeping him and the brand, quote unquote, of the Cowboys in the spotlight. Not even the team or the players or the success. No, the brand and himself. That's who he wants in the spotlight. Everything else kind of just is an added bonus if it happens, right? And that's exactly what the problem is, you know. Instead of locking down a player like Micah, because let's put it like this. He is a generational player. You know, he is in the same conversations and discussions to start his career, at least, as Reggie White, who is widely regarded as the best defensive end and pass rusher of all time in this NFL, right? And he, instead of locking him up, he wants to pull this bullshit out and make it a whole soap opera in a circus about it, you know? He's claiming, you know, roster management. He's claiming cap. He's claiming money, you know. The favorite saying, there's not enough pieces of this pie to go around, right? But it's not. It's not roster management. It's not team management. It's ego management, right? It's all about Jerry. It's all about what's best for him, right? He's the GM. He's the owner. He's the first person that is seen in terms of the media when the players or when a game or when whatever happens. He's the first one to talk to in the interviews and conferences and all that. It's him, right? And in his so-called, he wants to put his mind and his very much air quotes football genius on, right? Because he knows how to do this, so he's gonna want to be the guy. Except one small caveat there, right? He hasn't built a championship team in 30 years. I myself am 31 years old. My whole lifetime gone in terms of seeing success in the Cowboys and in sports, right? So he hasn't built a championship. He hasn't used his, air quotes, great genius football mind in 30 years, if that's the case. Because what has happened since then, right? You have a guy like Micah Parsons who can be your identity, who can be the anchor of your team, who can be the cornerstone of your team. Again, generational player, right? You can make him a Cowboy for life, essentially, but you want to go ahead and trade him to the dickhead Packers because your ego got hurt, because you got checked. Because honestly, because Micah checked you, right, publicly. And publicly speaking, nobody really checks Jerry that we know of. And if they have, they were gone. So maybe we should have just seen this coming as soon as Micah said something publicly. But hey, here we are. But really, just to give a player like that away and to do it with the return that he got is criminal, you know. 2 firsts and a 30-year-old D tackle who, yes, is a good player for sure. But again, we're talking about a guy that can elevate the whole team, a guy who commands double and triple teams almost every play that he's on the field. And in spite of being double and triple teamed, will give you at least 10 sacks a season, right? We let a player like that go to the Green Bay Packers. And this Packers team, mind you, they have been the thorn in our side. They have been spoiler of our dreams. They have downright been our dads in beating our asses, right? Thoroughly a couple years ago. And then a couple years before that, it was an embarrassing 3rd and 20. And a couple years before that, it was Des got it. Like, they have been the backbreaker for the Cowboys, right? And so what does Jerry go and do because he is hurt? He just goes and trades one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in the league to one of our very much hated rivals. And yes, I do think the Packers are rivals. Even though they do own us, we do still hate them. So the fact that he traded it away 2-1 in the conference and 2 to a team that has caused so much anguish over the years to the fans and to the team and to the players is actually just insane, you know? I don't know what else to say, man. You know, I'm tired, you know. we've dealt with this with Jerry for a very long time, and I just really think this is it. I hate that I grew up with the Cowboys and that I am a loyal guy, and that it's not just that easy for me to be like, all right, cool, I'm rooting for the Chiefs now. I hate that it's not that easy for me, but I just can't continue to at least support a team like this, Will I care? Do I care now? Yeah, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, speaking on this platform with y'all. But it's just shitty, man. I'm tired. I'm beat. I know maybe y'all wanted some spicy takes. I know this is the home and the birthplace of spicy takes, but I really don't have any for you. I mean, I just don't. I am tired of this, and I don't know. Publicly speaking, I know that perception is changing, and there is a little more pressure on Jerry, and he is hearing it now more so than maybe he has, and maybe that's why he is kind of lashing out and doing what he's doing, and great. And if it does change for the better, great. But I really just don't give a fuck anymore. I really don't. And it sucks because I do love football. I grew up playing it, watching it. I've coached it. I've been around it now for a long time. And it's my favorite sport. I really thoroughly enjoy it. So it sucks that the team that I do root for is so dysfunctional, and it's not really even a team. It's more of a production. So I don't know where we go from here, brother. I really don't. We're going to have to talk about that on another episode. And I'm sure we're a week away from the season starting, right? So football will be dead real soon again. So stay tuned to alert for that. But, man, other than that, I love y'all. I love you, Prem. Thank you for having me on. I hope we can do this again soon. Fuck Jerry Jones, fuck the Packers. I hope Micah balls out, and that's really all I got. Peace.
I also want to shout out my pops, my dad, for making me a Cowboys fan. I am proud to have the same fan allegiance as my dad. He got to fully enjoy the heyday of the Cowboys in the 90s. I loved being a fan with him. He's sick of this shit too, as am I. But I want to shout him out because I know at best we're both apathetic and not letting this team get to us. So shout out my pops, but fanhood atheist, let's ride. Let's just enjoy the product on TV, and I don't have to let this team affect my Sundays. You number one podcast listeners, I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry for the stream of consciousness. Sorry for the lack of structure, but I owed it to you number one podcast listeners, to give you my thoughts on this trade real time as it dropped. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for more Prem Brulee content. Let me know if you dug this quick reaction format. I'll try to mix it in a little bit more. You already know. Share this episode. Pass it on to a friend. Make fun of Cowboys fans together. Nobody hates being a Cowboys fan more than a Cowboys fan. I would know. It's in my not so distant past now. Number one podcast listeners, can't thank you enough. Thank you for tuning into this special edition. Hope you dug it. Tap in, share the episode, tell a friend to tell a friend. And we will talk to you next time, probably in a full version of this, back to the category form. RIP to my Cowboys fanhood. Those of you with me, enjoy your peace and your solitude and your zen this football season. Enjoy your fantasy football teams. Enjoy just watching for the product. Whatever it is. Number one podcast listeners, join me. Don't let these gaslighters get to it. We're not going to be insane with. Talk to you next time, number one podcast listeners. Remember, magicmind.com/Prem. Enter the code PREM20 to get yourself some Magic Mind. Don't ever play yourself. Back with the full edition next time. Talk to you soon, number one podcast listeners. Peace.